Well, when I heard that they'd started in 1967 or 68, I was really horrified because I felt they were like really contemporaries of mine. Because I feel it's like they've been around as long as I have, but then again, nobody has been around as long as I have. But so I must have heard of them almost immediately because they became a band that was instantly there. They had such a distinctive sound. You know, they've never deviated from what they love to play and how they perform. And I guess it would have been very early. I mean, I'd have heard them almost instantly, but it would have been 67, 68 when I first heard them.
Now, at the beginning, for two singles, they were a psychedelic band. They had all the caftans and the things and pictures matched in them. There's a famous quote by Roger Daltrey that he never wanted to be a mob, but he felt like the industry made him one because Pete wanted his band.
Who was that?
Roger said that Pete wanted the Who to be a mob band, so
Oh,
he got
okay.
packaged down Carnaby Street. Francis always says he felt like he was thrown into psychedelic clothing and made to do these songs. Do you think far more in the 50s and 60s there was a lot of that going on at the time?
I think in the 50s and 60s, it's true, we were all pressurized by what was happening, and it was fashion, really. When the Beatles had all the flared trousers, guess what I got? You know, otherwise you felt kind of out of it. I'm glad that whole flared thing disappeared quite quickly too. But so when Francis says that he felt he got pressurized into sort of wearing the wrong things or being part of something he wasn't quite ready for, I can understand that. I could see Rick enjoying a caftan, but I can't see Francis. And so I can understand that. There was that kind of pressure to succumb and be like everybody else. And but they've never... I never think of the Status Quo band as ever being quite like anybody else. You know, I remember Bruce was saying, "You've got to hear this record, rock and roll over the world." He said, "Look, we should have done this one. We should have done it." And it was just, they're a band that stand out. And when you go and see them, they're rabble rousers. You know, you need that kind of energy to get a crowd getting up like that. In fact, their crowds don't sit. You know, mine can't stand. But theirs don't sit. And it's because they have this energy level that is fantastic. And I can never think of them as being like anybody else. You know, when you think about it, they're a guitar band, but they're nothing like the Stones. They have their own totally individual sound. So they haven't latched onto anybody else. And even the Matchstick Men, all that was an unusual sort of song for a band like that to do. But Caftans, we all made that mistake.
Now, they were the first band to open at Live Aid, the first band on. Do you think any other band could have pulled that off?
When it comes to things like Live Aid, there probably are a few bands that could have done that. But I can see why they would be asked to do it, because there's a guarantee factor. The guarantee factor is they're going to do stuff tried and tested that the public have always liked. You know, it's too tempting sometimes to get into a place like that when there's masses of people, hundreds of thousands of people, and millions watching, and you think, I'll do my new song, which nobody knows. Status Quo would never do that. They'd say, large group, hit them with what we love and what they love. And so therefore they were the perfect choice to really kick that off. I was so disappointed that day because I was doing a gig in Birmingham and I couldn't be down there. So I wanted very much to be part of that. And so the only thing I could do was I travelled after the gig and just took my guitar with me and came down into London. And even though the whole event had finished, there was still little sparks of it going on right through the night. And I went to a little tiny club behind Savile Row and sat there and played and said, okay, I could say I was part of Live Aid. I wasn't on the main stage though. I just did a little thing at the end. But I missed that. I'd love to have been there and seen them kick it all off because they are very hard to follow. So the other bands had to be pretty darn good to follow. But of course they do have this magic of getting people psyched up.